Hello, welcome to the Sound of Science, the place where we deconstruct unscientific bogus and silly scams. Let's go get them. Please note that as of now, you can support the channel by becoming a member using the Join button under the video. Members can get access to special members-only badges, emojis, posts, polls, short videos, and long-format videos. Thanks in advance. Now, let's play the video.
What if we have an opportunity to flip that narrative that, you know what? It looks like science clearly says there is a God. Now, we can argue about who that is and what you're supposed to do about it, but for sure, the evidence is overwhelming.
Hello, you wonderful critical thinkers. Thank you for watching. Meet Eric Metaxas, a Christian apologist who thinks or pretends that there is overwhelming evidence that proves the existence of a God. Of course, he is talking nonsense. There is zero evidence that proves the existence of any God. All supposed evidence presented so far by Christian apologists is meaningless bogus that proves absolutely nothing. That is why I always think it's pretty disturbing when seemingly intelligent people speak so confidently nonsensical like Eric does. Does he really believe what he says, or is he just one of those Christian apologist charlatans who tries to sell his book to gullible idiots?
See, this is what I'm trying to say. The reason I wrote the book, even people like you don't know what's in my book. What I say in my book...
Oh boy, never mind. Let's see what Eric has got to say. I'm always hoping for a Christian apologist with some kind of new approach. But that really hasn't happened for the past 50 years. All of them keep rambling the same nonsense that we have debunked over and over again. But okay, I guess I'm in a good mood today. Take it away, Eric.
Since the 60s, the evidence from science, and I can go into it, but has piled up, mainly having to do with what we call the fine-tuning of everything.
Oh, come on. Not the fine-tuning argument again. We have debunked that a million times. It's total bogus. The universe is not created, it's not designed, it's not fine-tuned for life. All of that is total nonsense. That is why we rebranded your argument. Your argument is now called the tardigrade argument. Want to know why? Turns out we live in a universe that is totally hostile towards life. The universe barely allows for life to exist. The universe tries to kill us constantly. 99.9999% of the universe consists of a stone-cold vacuum where nothing can survive. Even most planets that we know of will destroy most life forms instantly. So if your argument proves anything, it would be that if there is a God, he hates life. Because the overwhelming majority of the universe that he supposedly created kills most life in a split second. Except for tardigrades. They can survive outer space. So if your God exists, he must love tardigrades. Yeah. Your God loves tardigrades so much that he fine-tuned the universe for it. So, therefore, your fine-tuning argument is now called the tardigrade argument. Thank me later. But of course, your God does not exist, and he did not create the universe, and he did not fine-tune it for life. If any decent God would fine-tune a universe for life, he would fill space with oxygen and give it a livable temperature so that we can survive in space, and he would not fill space with deadly radiation. A decent creator would make more livable planets close to Earth so that life could thrive on more places and not just in one small pocket of the solar system. So, no. The universe is not fine-tuned for life, not even close. If the universe were fine-tuned for anything, it would be fine-tuned for hydrogen and helium. They thrive in the universe and make up 98% of the visible mass of the universe, but not life. To the universe, life is just an irrelevant speck of dust. If we were to take away all life, nothing of any significance would change to the universe. The universe would still go about its way, stars would still shine, planets would still revolve around them, and galaxies would still collide. So no, the universe is most definitely not fine-tuned for life. So, what else do you got?
But it has become now so overwhelming that anywhere you look, on the macro level, on the micro level, on the subatomic level, on the level of the vast universe, wherever you look, you see signs of design so outrageous that you have to stop and think, look, there's nothing to talk about. It's clear that God did this, or it's at least clear that it couldn't have just happened. There's no way that this could have just happened. So I think when that evidence piles up, it sounds hopelessly vague as I'm talking about it now, but when you begin reading one thing after the other, you put this evidence in front of somebody and say, okay, what do you make of this now?
Nothing. I make nothing of this. For decades now, I've heard you Christian apologists say that the supposed evidence for fine-tuning is piling up, and all you give me is nothing that proves anything at all whatsoever. All you give me is numbers that you clearly misrepresent or don't understand at all. So please give me your very best example that demonstrates your fine-tuning argument.
The simplest example, which you don't need much modern science to determine it, but I'll never forget because it's so simple. I remember I did the math on this 20 years ago. I was writing my first book. The diameter of the moon is almost exactly 1/400th the diameter of the sun. Okay, it's just a fact. Almost exactly 1/400th the diameter. So diameter of the sun is 400 times that of the moon.
Well, it's not exactly 400 times. First, because the diameter of both the sun and the moon are not the same everywhere. Both of them are not perfect spheres. And also, the sun is a ball of gas. It doesn't have a surface. So if we measure its diameter, it's kind of a rough measurement based upon the visibility of its photosphere, which can vary based upon the method of measurement. I think I understand what method your number is based upon, and that would lead to the diameter of the sun being 400.4 times bigger than the diameter of the moon. So not exactly 400, but very close. Okay, what else do you got?
The distance from the Earth to the moon is almost exactly 1/400th the distance of the Earth to the sun.
No, that's nonsense. You did the math 20 years ago, so you had 20 years to think about this, and you still got it wrong. No, the distance between the sun and the Earth is not almost exactly 400 times the distance between the Earth and the moon. Roughly, on average, that would be 389 times and not 400 times. So that's a significant difference. But the point is, this average of 389 means nothing, because there is no fixed distance between the Earth and the Sun, and there is no fixed distance between the Earth and the Moon. Both vary all the time, because the orbit of the Earth and the Moon are not circles, they are both ovals. And the difference between the largest and the smallest distance between the Earth and the Moon is so big that over time we see the Moon becoming smaller and bigger again. It's the same with the distance between the Earth and the Sun. Over time it becomes smaller and then it becomes bigger again. So much so that the distance between the Earth and the Sun is not 400 times bigger than the distance between the Earth and the Moon, but in reality that ratio varies from 363 to 419. So that's a very wide range, 363 to 419, and not almost exactly 400. So I have asked ChatGPT how often this happened, the distance between the Earth and the Sun being 400 times bigger than the distance between the Earth and the Moon. And I've been kind to you. I've given you a range of 399 to 401. Let's call that almost exactly 400 times, okay? It turns out that the distance between the Earth and the Sun is only 3.6% of the time, 400 times the distance between the Earth and the Moon. So your claim that the distance from the Earth to the Sun is 400 times the distance from the Earth to the Moon, that is only true 3.6% of the time. And you've been spreading that nonsense for 20 years now, and you even multiplied that nonsense in your books. Now what? How can I take your argument seriously now?
This means that in the sky, from the point of view of Earth only, the sun and the moon look precisely the same size. Precisely.
No, that's totally not true. That's just an uneducated blanket statement that will land well with people who have no clue. But it's not true. Because of the oval shape of the orbit of both the Moon and the Earth, the apparent size of the Moon and the Sun changes all the time, and those changes are significant, so much so that the Moon can appear up to 8.5% larger than the Sun, and the other way around, the Sun can even appear up to 11% larger than the Moon. So no, the Sun and the Moon do not look precisely the same size. That is total nonsense.
And this is what gives us eclipses. And so when you think about this, again, if you know the sizes of other moons around the planets and stuff, you go, what is this, coincidence? This is insane. They're exactly the same size from the point of view of Earth. Why is that? Does that seem on any level of randomness? Is this possible? Why do we just have one moon? But why would it be exactly the same size? Not close, but exactly the same size. And again, it doesn't prove anything. But if you're just honest, you'd say, well, it seems like God designed it.
Well, if you were just honest, you would stop lying about the Sun, the Earth, and the Moon, because that's what you're doing. They are not exactly the same size, not even close, and their apparent sizes even change all the time. So you're spreading a bunch of lies that no doubt will impress your gullible followers. But even if what you said about the Sun, the Earth, and the Moon were true, how would that in any way point at any God? It doesn't. It just points at an interesting natural phenomenon, the Sun and the Moon appearing with roughly the same size, so that we get eclipses. So what? How can that be considered some special coincidence in any way? Eclipses happen all over the solar system. Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, and Neptune all experience eclipses because they all have many large moons that get in between those planets and the Sun. So nothing funny going on here. Eclipses are very common in the solar system. Although it's painful to see how you lie in order to get your desired conclusion of a magic god, I'm happy to inform you that AI will educate more and more of your gullible followers over time. All of your lies can easily be debunked in seconds, asking proper questions to one of the many serious AI tools that is available to the public as we speak. So the question is, how much longer will you get away with this? I think over time more and more people will stop falling for this bogus, and in the end you will be left with just a handful of your most stupid fans who don't care much about the truth. And that would be precisely the kind of people who would fall into the arms of any other charlatan if he or she had an even more magical god on offering. So good luck with that, and thanks for watching.